Anti-bullying information is on there, including the forms that our district uses. The policy is on there. The investigation timeline is on there for your reference if you ever have questions about that. And then certainly feel free to contact your student assistance coordinator in your school or myself if you can't reach one of them. But as far as the procedure goes, I have there where it's at. If you go to our website under the tab for our district, you would go to HIB, and then the forms are listed under there, so it's very accessible. Again, similar to the DIFUS reporting, a witnessing or suspecting person must make a verbal report to the principal the same day. So the very same day that you either witness an event or suspect an event, or the day that a student, regardless of whether or not the incident occurred a week or 2 weeks ago, if the student comes to you and says that so-and-so has been bullying me, that same day that you hear that, you have to report it to the principal, okay, verbally, at least verbally the same day. You do have 2 days, 2 school days, to make that report in written fashion. That written report is on the district website, and I believe our school's main offices all have copies of that report as well that you could do. But again, it must be, the report must be provided in writing no later than 2 school days after you either witness or suspect the event. Upon the verbal report, the school principal's responsibility is to notify the parents, guardians of both parties, both the alleged and the alleged bully, so to speak, as well as the alleged victim or the accuser, which is how we reference these parties in our reports. So the principals are required to notify both parties and inform them that there's a suspicion of harassment, intimidation, or bullying that involves their child, and it's currently being investigated, and they'll do the best they can to answer any questions that the parents may have at that point. But really, the principal is going to have limited information at that point as the investigation is just beginning. Let's see. Within 1 day of the report, the principal initiates the investigation. So upon being notified verbally that there is a potential case, the principal then needs to contact the student assistance coordinator and inform the SAC that they have a potential case that needs to be investigated. The principal, just so you get a sense of our procedure here, the principal contacts my office, we assign a case number to it, and then we have a spreadsheet in my office, and I thank my secretary, Ms. Delangelo, who does a tremendous job tracking this information to help me out with our reporting procedure. We have a huge spreadsheet where we keep all identifying information, case numbers, so on and so forth. So once the principal gets the case number, the investigation turns over to the student assistance coordinator, and then they have 10 school days to complete the investigation. Obviously, if there's a significant case going on with implying some huge consequences, they work as fast as they can. I think the 10 days, that legislation basically is there because I think the law recognizes that there could be several cases going on at once, and I think from the SAC's perspective, we saw that pretty consistently throughout the course of last year. As I indicated, the principal can appoint individuals to assist in the investigation. Usually that's one of the vice principals. I know that child study team members, school counselors have also been asked to assist in an investigation. Why would assistance be necessary? It's very likely, and it has occurred on multiple times last year, where you can have a tremendous amount of students involved in any one case. If you keep in mind, one of the behaviors included is electronic communication. Oftentimes with your Facebook and Twitter, there's a chain, and there could be a chain of students, and a student who just responds to an incident that would constitute harassment, intimidation, or bullying, or puts an LOL, they laugh about it, they're going to be found guilty of committing the act as well. We had one case last year that included about 20 students. So assigning the additional help, obviously the SAC can't possibly interview all 20 of those students and or their parents or adults within that required time frame. So it's important to have other folks help out with that. So the investigation report gets written by the SAC, and then it's provided to the principal, who forwards it to my office, and then I review it, and then I collaborate with the superintendent, and the superintendent then makes the decision as to whether any additional recommendations are necessary. So in, I would say, 100% of the cases last year, the building handled all the cases first, and any matters or recommendations that would be necessitated from the building level, and then those actions, whether discipline, whether training, whether counseling, any type of intervening considerations, they would be indicated by the principal in the report that they send to my office. The superintendent reviews those recommendations and then makes a decision as to any additional supports are necessary to go in place. I think our buildings did a great job of handling all of those incidents last year, and I can't recall any one incident that needed Mr. Golden to implement any additional training, so on and so forth. So we did a very nice job with this during the inception year. We had limited parent complaints at the superintendent level, so I thank the buildings for diffusing situations which were potentially disastrous on that end, and I think we did a nice job working together with that. Again, just following down this implementation timeline or investigation timeline. Once it's reported to the superintendent must report each incident of investigated HIB to the Board of Education at a Board of Education meeting. So what does that look like? We really don't get into the details of reporting it to the Board of Ed. If there was a complicated case or a case where potentially there could be some fallout within the community, we do kind of give them a heads up that this could be coming down the line. But for the most part, our executive session agenda indicates the HIB case number, and then Mr. Golden will go over the results, how many were confirmed to be harassment, intimidation, or bullying, and/or how many were not. If there are any specific questions from the board members, we answer them, but we try not to get into too many details. We've presented, I think last September was the most. Hopefully that won't be repeated this year, but I think we had something like maybe 20 to 30 cases to report during the September's board meeting. So to get into all those details would be a huge task. So following the presentation to the Board of Education, what then happens is the superintendent has 5 school days to get information to the parents of both sides of the investigation. Information basically can be interpreted as a letter. So a letter goes out from the superintendent's office to the parents of the alleged or confirmed bully, as well as the accuser, the person who was the victim or alleged victim of the incident. And the letter basically cites our policy, as well as the anti-bullying rights, the legislation. So there's a general statement about that. We try to keep the letter general, and if there are any details that the parent requires, they can contact certainly the SAC, or they contact my office, and then we give them as many details as we can. The information is very sensitive, as you can imagine. A parent receiving a letter indicating that their child committed an act of bullying from the superintendent, they can get quite concerned about that. So I think we've done a nice job of trying to tone the letter to be sensitive to that. And again, our schools have done a nice job of assisting with that. If the parent disagrees with the information that they receive, they can make an appeal to the Board of Education, and they can have a hearing. That hearing has to occur within 10 days of their request. So if a parent requests to appeal a decision that was made, their kid was accused of bullying or harassing another student, and they disagree with it, they can appeal it formally. They would put it in writing, they would send it to myself or the superintendent, and it has to go before the Board of Education within 10 days, regardless of whether or not we have a board meeting scheduled within those 10 days. Following that hearing, the board must make a decision in writing by the next board meeting, at the next board meeting. It doesn't end there. The parent can disagree with the board. They can appeal to the Commissioner of Education within 90 days, and then it just keeps on going up. You can see with the New Jersey Division on Civil Rights, as well as Superior Court or Federal District Court. Some miscellaneous things. Again, not to continue with the theme of doom and gloom, but just for you all to know, the legislation is pretty serious. With this, employees may be disciplined for failing to investigate, or they indicate in quotes, should have known of an incident. And they identify again a reasonable person, what a reasonable person should have known. There's no definition of a reasonable person, though I was waiting for that question. Twice per year, the district and school data regarding HIB investigations, trainings, and prevention programs are reported to the Department of Ed, which I already indicated. The Department of Ed, we did not experience that this year, but moving forward, we will be graded on what we report to the DOE. And the grade must be posted on the homepage of our school's website once we get it. That concludes the anti-bullying presentation. I'm sure you're glad we're all done. If you do have any questions regarding the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights and requirements or specific questions related, please seek out your SAC within your building and or myself, and I'll be glad to help you. Moving forward, yes, I had a question if I could put both PowerPoints on our shared directory, and I would be happy to do that. So thank you, Mr. Shepard, for making that request. Next, I think we have time. We're going to move forward. I'd like to introduce our District Director of Technology, Mr. Matsuki.
Thanks, Dave.